Recording in progress.
Just in case you didn't hear that, recording is in progress. Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to see all the new faces here today. This is the Developmental Review Board meeting for Thursday, May 1st in 2025 for the town of Essex. We're going to call the meeting to order. And yes, I can try to get closer. Yeah. Although I can hear myself here. Can you hear me now? All right. We'll do the Verizon commercial every 5 minutes. Can you hear me now? Okay. So once again, we're calling the meeting to order. This is a Developmental Review Board meeting for Thursday, May 1st.
Kid or Kitty Carmen.
In 2025. That was Zoom? Yeah. So if you are on Zoom, and we don't have a screen right in front of us here today, but if you're on Zoom, if you could make sure that you can leave your cameras on, but please turn your mics off. Thank you, we'd appreciate that. When we start off these meetings, we're going to start with just a quick introduction of who our board members are here that are present this evening. So we'll start to my left today.
Sharon Zukowski.
Sharon Zukowski.
Justin Brusso. Nick Martin.
And on my right.
Stephanie Bixby.
Hubie Darden. Trevor Williams.
And myself, I'm the chair, Ian Carroll. First item that we have, I want to remind folks that we are a quasi-judicial meeting, which means that basically we run this very similar to like a court structure, and we have a very strict agenda that's before us here. We will get to the items that everybody is more than likely anxious to talk about here, but first we have a few things to do first. First up, we have agenda additions or changes. Do we have anybody that has any additions or changes to our agenda this evening? Nick, are you good?
Good.
Dusty?
All set.
Sharon?
I don't know if this is the time to put to do this here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna need back operation after this.
Yeah.
I would like to move the consent item that's on the agenda to be scheduled as a hearing item, because I think there's a little more to discuss about that particular item.
Theoretically, we probably should do that in public to be heard.
In the public to be heard section, yeah.
First start talking about consent agenda.
Yep.
So
Okay.
people
Thank
online are having a hard time hearing.
Okay.
Speak loud.
Can everybody online hear me now?
Now it's too loud.
Okay, so I believe at the moment we're discussing whether or not we can move an item on the agenda, but at the moment we're just in the introduction. We were just doing conversation about the agenda. I think, I believe that that Dusty mentioned that that's an item that we can talk about as we get to the public to be heard section.
Thank you.
So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Move forward.
Yeah.
There are seats up there. There are seats closer.
I can't get it much closer than this. So, okay. All right, we will try to make sure that everybody brings the mic up as close to their lips. Hubie?
No, I'm all set.
No, okay. Do I get a motion to approve the agenda as it is?
So moved.
We have a motion by Dusty. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trevor. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, the next section that we have is called Public to be Heard, and that is for anyone that's in the public, both online or here in person, and that is specifically about items that are not on tonight's agenda, with the exception of the consent item, which is on the agenda this evening. So if anyone has anything that would like to be said or would have to say here about tonight's consent item or something else that's not on the agenda, then we'll have you come up to the mic and have you mentioned there. And I'll also ask for all those that are here present, as well as those online, staff, you'll have to help me know whether or not they're raising their hands. We'll ask them if you're online, if you would raise your hands. We're going to give you an oath, and we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to take that oath and attest to your truthfulness. And you don't have to stand to do it, but I would want to see hands in the room. If you have any idea that you may talk this evening, then I'd ask you to take that oath now. Thank you. And I'm going to ask all of you, do you hereby affirm that the testimony and or evidence you're about to give in the applications or consent item this evening that are under consideration is accurate and true to the best of your abilities? And if you were online and you had your hands up, I appreciate that. You can now put your hands down and make sure your mics stay muted. Thank you. For those that wanted to...
We can't hear you.
All right, that's fair. When Sharon Kukowski asked to have the motion for the Tanglewood parcel to be brought off of the consent, is
Mhm.
it off of the consent or is it still in?
It is not as of yet. We haven't had that discussion yet. So that was during. You are able to talk about it now. Correct. So I'm going to ask those that would like to speak this evening about items, either the consent item or stuff that's not on tonight's agenda, please come up to the microphone and the podium. And if you would, if there's going to be a bit of a line, come all the way around to your right, my left, and line up there, please. Make sure they take the oath, yep. No, this is not. That is an item that's on our agenda this evening, which we will get to. Yep.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Great.
How's that working? People can hear? Okay, great. I'd like to speak to the board.
We have to make sure, for the record, we need your name
Oh,
on file.
sorry, thank you. My name is Ken Signorello, and I'm speaking as a town resident. On March the 6th, there was a public hearing about the subdivision for the properties that are later on the agenda. One of the items that was discussed was the new public road that will be going in. And the applicant made a statement. I actually watched the meeting a few minutes ago to make sure I got the wording right. I'm going to quote him. We met with Public Works. They indeed do not want street trees within their right-of-way. I asked about that, and I was referred to staff, which I've been investigating. In fact, I spoke with Aaron Martin directly about this. The reality is the Public Works Department does dictate what can and can't be placed in town rights-of-way. However, they're only concerned about things that interfere with utilities. So in general, the statement that they do not want trees in their right-of-way is not 100% true. They do support vegetation, shrubs, trees, especially when it helps stabilize the slopes. And as you well know, this road will be recessed in parts and will have steep slopes on either side. It'll be sort of in a gully. And vegetation might actually serve quite a lot better than riprap, which I think was the proposal. Just because Public Works approves a plan that does not include landscaping does not mean they don't want landscaping. The regulations clearly state that it is the DRB's responsibility to specify what landscaping is required, not Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address, ma'am. I know you swore in.
My name is Betsy Dunn, and I live at 2 Cindy Lane.
Thank you.
And this is about the Tanglewood parcel that you want to deal with.
Correct, on the
Okay.
consent item.
So there is a request for a subdivision at 47 Tanglewood. I do not live adjacent to the property, but by statute, I am an invested neighbor by the fact that this can affect me by safety and physical safety and also the environmental impact on me. So, on Birchwood Manor, when it was developed, it was one of the first developments in Essex. And there's a statute that says, to ensure adequate access, any subdivision or combination of proposed and previously approved or built subdivisions containing 50 or more dwellings for emergency equipment. Okay. So we do have. Oh, good. Thank you. I couldn't tell. And so one of the street, such a condition of more than 50 says that you will have a opening that will be open to public motorized vehicle traffic and shall be proposed by the town streets by acceptance of the town plan. Notwithstanding the above regulation, the Planning Commission and Select Board approval, any one of the street connections may be limited to emergency and pedestrian access only. And this is for the town engineer, the community development director, the fire chief, and the police chief shall be consulted with their recommendations. In Birchwood Manor, we have 187 homes without an access to get out of there. People who are impacted by this, Tanglewood has several turnoffs early on, but once you pass the second Glenwood access, you now are in an area that has no access to get out of there or anyone to come in if there is a heart attack or if someone's fallen off the roof or if there's just something dangerous that's happened back there. You wouldn't be able to get them there in time to save that person. And the number of people it affects is 112 of the people I know. 112 of the people that live out there, and 90 homes would not have any help if there was one of the large pines that come down. Tanglewood is a wide street, but it doesn't match inch for inch for any of those trees if you ever go back there. They're huge. So I would like to say this is a problem. And I think that of all these, that 137 homes past the 50 margin, there has not been one waiver asked to be received for this regulation. To me, that speaks of problem. And we need to have this addressed because this one parcel could become just one dwelling, but by the laws that passed down in Montpelier last year, per acre, you could have 4 different dwellings there. And that's unacceptable without a second access. So that's what I'm asking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Good evening.
Hi. Hello. I'm Patty Davis, 9 Hillside Circle. We're one of many circles adjacent to Sand Hill Road, which is highly used by residential traffic. We do not have a sidewalk on Lower Sand Hill. We have the town attempting to mow on either side of the Sand Hill. There's no way a stroller with baby can go up from the bottom of 117 up Sand Hill. There's no way anyone can bike down Sand Hill. The gentleman that lives in Essex, not far from me, was hit on his bicycle going up Sand Hill, had 17 surgeries, and then was put into an institution for a while. And then after that, he is now living independently, but he can't drive, he can't ride his bike. We have, like what Betsy just said, we have well over 100 homes adjacent to Sand Hill Road. We are a very highly residential neighborhood, a lot of young families and a lot of old people like me that I'm not 65 yet, but I feel it. And we decided to look at homes the last 6 months, and we put like 150 grand into our home on Hillside, and we do not find it worth it to move to Colchester, my hometown, where we'd have to spend $800,000 for a single level to live in the Tanglewood area, Porter's Point, where we want to move. So I'm asking the town to please buck up, give us some sidewalks, and give us a shoulder for bikers to bike on, because not only are you going to have some lawsuits from individuals where their members of their family get injured, like this gentleman I just spoke of, but you are putting more stress on our police department, our fire department, and like Bradford, I don't want people in our fire department quitting because they're being treated like crap. We ask you kindly to not treat our neighborhoods adjacent to Sand Hill Road, which is the largest neighborhood right now in the town of Essex, to please treat us with respect, mow Saxon Hollow Park so we don't have ticks, plow the sidewalk along Sand Hill, pick up the debris on Sand Hill, and for God's sake, build a shoulder so people can bike and take their strollers up and down Sand Hill Road. This is ridiculous for the amount of taxes we pay. Now, whoever has more money than God, either the developer or any big deal coming to town, if they don't build that separate road that we were promised when we moved here 8 years ago, the past Public Works Director said there will be a road separate from 117 to 15. Build the road, and then we can have a frank discussion and maybe a compromise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'll also note that, I'll also note that a lot of your comments would also do well if you would forward those same comments along to the Planning Commission. That would be a helpful note as well. Yep. Things have, okay. Yes, sir.
My name's Brian Clifford, and I live towards the beginning of Tanglewood Drive.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess like kind of a similar but flip side thing to what Betsy said. I'm a parent of a young kid, and there's young kids across the street, so they're going back and forth. And I have concerns about, it does take a long time to get to the end of the road. And if like emergency responders need to get back there, it makes sense that they're going fast. Other people just kind of use it as a racetrack because it's wide and straight right there. So I just hope the traffic impacts of this project are taken into consideration, whether that's like a second access or speed bumps or something like that.
Thank you. Do we have anyone online? No. Anyone else in the room that has any comments about items, either the consent item or items that are not on this evening's agenda? Dusty.
He can go first.
Yes.
I'm representing the applicants for the consent.
Can you go up to the
Can you
mic?
can you come to the podium, please? Yeah. Yes.
When we get on, that's my question.
Jeff, come right here. All of you can.
I just wasn't sure if I needed to do it under the public to be heard, or I could do it under the consent agenda item itself.
You can actually come to it now because it's an area that we're discussing it now. Yeah. Folks, once you get settled in, if you would mind identifying yourselves for the record.
Yes, and speak very close into the microphone.
As close as you possibly
as
can.
close as I can. Can you hear
Correct.
me now?
Yeah.
So my name is Jeff Kirshner. I'm from Donald Hamlin Consulting Engineers, and I'm representing John McClellan and Meredith McClellan on the Tanglewood application.
Okay.
So I apologize for before. I wasn't sure if I would have the opportunity to talk during consent, or I had to do it under public to be heard.
Yep.
So I wanted to speak about what Ms. Dunn had said with the second access provision. And she made a statement in there that no waivers have been asked for since 2005 or whatever she said. I do not believe that that's correct. I believe that there was a waiver for a previous subdivision in 2005 that was granted. And I also believe there was one in 2011 through 2013. There was a subdivision that actually created the lot in question tonight. And there was a waiver that was granted by at that time, the Planning Commission. And they found that there was under the waiver provisions, they found that there were special circumstances of this particular subdivision that gave them the ability to grant that waiver because there are no connecting facilities adjacent or in proximity to the proposed subdivision. And there was no impacts to the public health and safety and general welfare, because that subdivision at the time was supported by all of the public officials. The fire chief, the police chief, the town engineer, and so that waiver was granted, that approval was granted, and then that particular approval was appealed to the environmental court. And that went through a year or two process where that appeal was overturned. The court found that the waiver was justified, that was given, and I'm going to contend that the special circumstances still exist. The same special circumstances still exist as part of that development. That development has, as I counted, it's 160 homes, but it doesn't matter. It's well over 150 homes. It's a difficult development that's happened over time. There is no easy way to put a second access in there. There are steep slopes. There's properties that aren't owned by certain people that you just can't get there. And the court agreed with the staff and the planning commission at that time about that waiver. And so we're going to probably talk about that a little bit later, but I submit that those circumstances still stand. And finally, the last thing I wanted to say is it's my understanding that a party that brought that appeal as part of that previous appeal in 2011 or 13 is now on this board. And I would respectfully request that that person recuse themselves from anything to do with this application.
Point of order. I was just going to interrupt you to say that I'm going to recuse myself because of this conversation, but I will be speaking as a member of the public.
That's fine. I just wanted to bring that on the record so
No, I was
everybody
waiting
was
for you to
clear.
finish.
I wanted to make sure that everybody was clear on that, because I've heard that it already wants to be pulled off of consent. And I just wanted to be clear that.
So may I interrupt you for a moment to ask the
You just did.
chair if I can go into the,
If you have a reason to recuse yourself?
I
then-
think I do,
Yep.
just from the information that's being given.
Yep.
I mean, I think I could be unbiased, but I think I have the appearance of being biased.
And it's really about the appearance. So,
Exactly.
Yep. I would.
Is that okay with you?
Yes, and I would say that involves that motion that was at least tried to be made before. I don't think it was actually officially made, so.
Let me go over there because.
If I can just for a moment, this is consent discussion. We're not really talking at this stage. Consent agenda items are treated differently, and we're trying to get into that at this point. So you're right on target, and so are you, but we're not talking about official hearings and so forth, like you were sort of alluding to. This is consent. So this is where the discussion happens. So.
I agree, and I just wanted to be clear in terms of a voting member of the board.
Right,
That was
I'm
where
not
I
gonna vote, but-
where I was headed to, and I wasn't sure how much I get to speak on it, so I'm bringing that up as my
Also,
opportunity.
point of order, and I won't ask it now, I'll go sit over there. But the regulations allow a member of the public, such as Betsy Dunn or myself, if I think I'm aggrieved, to ask for the item to be moved off the consent agenda.
Thank you.
So, should I go there now?
Yes, please.
Ian, I'd like to say something as well.
Sharon, go ahead.
So I just want to speak to the consent agenda item in that the applicants submitted this application on March 7th. We bumped them because of the Amazon project for the next meeting and sorry. And so we put them on this agenda. So I feel like I'd like to see this matter concluded tonight. I think it's consent. It shouldn't take too long. So I encourage everybody to consider that. Also, put before you today was an email from Aaron Martin that didn't go into your packets, and I will just read it. Public Works staff met with the applicant's engineer on April 22nd, 2025 to discuss the comments of our March 12th, 2025 review memo. The site plan attached addresses all of our comments regarding our review memo, and Public Works takes no exception to the revised plan. And I would also confirm Jeff's comments about previous waivers with that, and I will also add that all of the departments had no concerns and made no comments, as you saw in the consent agenda, with the fact of one access. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I go?
Yes, Dusty.
So I think given that this was presented as a consent agenda, we've already spent 15 minutes on it. It implies that the complexity of that is beyond the consent agenda item for me. It also, the issue of the second access is still an issue. I think we need to evaluate whether or not the waiver is there and is included. Waivers do not carry forward. Waivers are not precedent. They are for each application. I haven't seen a waiver in this application. So I believe it needs to have a waiver. I believe it needs to have that documentation created. It doesn't carry, waivers are not precedent setting. They don't go beyond the application that they were on. And I was here for the first one. So I agree that there was a waiver granted. I agree with that there were waivers, there were substantial reasons for that waiver, but that hearing has to occur. It's not if we can treat this as a consent agenda, and I don't feel that we can. So in my opinion, it needs to be pulled from consent and treated as a application.
Okay. So suggested by Dusty, and we had additional public comment, I believe, do we not? We have someone at the podium.
Am I recognized?
If you are you on the phone, or are you gonna?
I have someone on the phone, one of the 30 people that are standing that are behind you. None of them can hear this meeting and participate. I would suggest that until that technical difficulty is resolved, that you maybe adjourn temporarily, at least until that's taken care of. I was at a recent meeting where it was advertised as hybrid, as this was, and we were not able to have that hybrid component, and the meeting was declared invalid. I would suggest that you get that taken care of before you continue.
Thank you. I wasn't aware. Thank you.
Ian?
I was aware. I've been talking with Town Meeting TV about this. They're working on it. They say it's approving, but they can't do it quickly. So the suggestion to adjourn briefly, I think, makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So we have a suggestion to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn for a brief moment?
Sounds appropriate. I'll make that motion.
Recess, yeah.
A recess.
A recess.
Recess,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. We are in recess until this technical issue can be solved. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Apologies that we didn't bring any snacks for the halftime show. So we're going to pick up again with we're still on the public to be heard, which includes the consent item. I do know that we had at least 2 people that wanted to speak on the consent item in the public to be heard section. Go ahead, if you would like to come up. This microphone is working. And I don't hear myself very loudly, so maybe you don't hear me either. Is it okay? Okay, good.
So,
Restate your name.
my name is Betsy Dunn. I live at 2 Cindy Lane. First, I'd like to say, I would like, as an interested party, to have this consent agenda issue with the parcel on 4757 Tanglewood, and have a hearing of its own at a June meeting, so that people who didn't know this was happening at this meeting, because it's changed from consent to talking about actually doing a hearing. There are people out there in our neighborhood who may have come if they thought that was what was going to happen. And I think that would be fair. If you choose not to do that, I'll go on. But I guess I'll go on because I don't know if you're going to do that or not. So the use of a waiver should be a rarity. And that was something that our previous Director of Public Works, Dennis Lutz, said. You know, we have regulations for a reason. Special waiver is usually granted only if an applicant can demonstrate that the project meets certain criteria, such as compatibility with the surrounding area, it's a public benefit, or a public hardship. I believe that when a developer requests a waiver, first, the public should be notified that a waiver is being presented to this group because of these reasons. And second, I think once the DRB gets the waiver, gets the request for the waiver, should review it, but it should ultimately go to the select board. Because we put them in office, we vote for them. We don't vote for you, you're all wonderful people, but we don't vote for you. And they have the ultimate liability for the change in that waiver from the regulation, and that regulation is there for a reason. And so also, the court case in 2005, talking to one of the applicants in that case, wasn't a blanket waiver, neither was the 2012 case. About 10 homes have been added since the 2005 period. And a neighbor now needs new water, and the neighborhood requires new water pipes. The pressure is very low, and even the hydrants don't have enough pressure because of the distance they're traveling. Act 47 will allow 4 homes on each lot, and that I mentioned. And criteria for a waiver is not because the applicant says it's too expensive if we do it the other way. It's an expense, but they usually get it back. Like when they built the ones behind our home, that 2012 case, I think, where they built over there, and I wasn't an interested party in that. I was interested, but I wasn't an interested party in that. But I think that given the fact that it has had people weigh in on it and say that they don't believe that this is a problem, well, you know, the Supreme Court weighed in on something once back in '72, and somehow or another, here in 2020, well, they were able to go and say, well, no, I don't think that's what that meant. So I think that just because someone has weighed in on it once doesn't mean that a different group of people are going to say, oh, yeah, go ahead. I think that's why I think we should have the waiver and have a meeting in June so that people can come to it and do it, and you can get on with your Amazon meeting then. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. Do we have somebody else that was in the general public that was looking to do? Seeing none. Anybody online? Seeing none.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I have another shot?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm online and I would like to speak.
Okay. Hang on.
I just want to say I agree with exactly what Betsy said.
Name, please?
Carolyn Lewis, 3 Cindy Lane.
And did you swear in, Carol?
No, I did not.
Okay. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your ability?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Go on.
So I just want to support and agree with what Betsy said. I don't need to say more, though.
Thank you for that. Anyone else online? Okay. All right. Yes.
Sorry. I just want to read to you guys one section out of the rules about waivers.
Stating that it's going to need a waiver is not a waiver.
Sharon, you had something you want to mention?
No, so a waiver needs to be approved, whether there was a waiver here or not. The DRB needs to approve the consent agenda item. Further, more for the audience, if they feel that too much discussion is going on with this, they will pull it off the consent agenda and either hear it at the meeting currently, or they will bump it to another meeting.
Okay. Great. Online is, can you hear me online? Is it just that microphone that Sharon was using? No response?
No response.
Okay. Gentlemen? I'm happy to speak into the microphone.
Ian?
Yes.
If we are going to have to adjourn, I would say that, you know, to the next available meeting where we can schedule something and we can talk to the DRB behind the scenes as to what your availability would be.
Yep.
We'd like to get something maybe in a couple of weeks.
Yes. One more round online. Can we be heard?
Very faint.
Very faint.
Nope.
I have a,
I would move that we continue the entire meeting, continue the entire agenda to the next available meeting as can be determined, since it's already been warned, but we're just moving.
a continuance, yep.
People are saying they can hear you faintly, but you're very far away from your microphone. Could you speak closer to it to see if they get a good signal, please?
I can touch the microphone. Does that help?
I think we're getting both comments.
It's only very faint, if nothing. is what
Okay.
we're getting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't feel at this point that going back and forth online, not online, and hybrid, not hybrid is something that we can continue to do this evening. We have was that a motion that you made?
I would make a motion that we continue this meeting, the entire agenda, because we haven't gotten through any of it. We just transplant this agenda to the next available meeting, and that would, I would encourage, as part of that motion, I would encourage staff and the applicant to modify their consent agenda item independent of having to wait for a whole nother meeting. And I would modify that to be a separate application.
Yes,
I'd like to have the staff, do I need to speak into this microphone?
Yeah, maybe just try. Maybe, because what if some of these microphones work and some don't?
I don't think.
It's time to work up.
I'd like to have the staff look into the open meeting law, because I don't feel that just because the hybrid is not working, that means that everything should be canceled. There's something that I recall in taking the open meeting law training that suggests that if there is a problem with the hybrid connection, that it should be try to be resolved as quickly as possible, but that potentially, and I say potentially because I'm not sure, that the meeting may be able to continue, but decisions may not be made until a hybrid connection is finished or corrected. So I'd like to have the staff look into this more so that we can clarify exactly how to proceed, because this is not fair to anyone. Anybody could jump in and could control a meeting by saying that the hybrid is not working. That's not correct. So there's something that's not right in Denmark here, and I'd like to have the staff look into it further.
I will ask the general public to please keep comments to be respectful of everyone here. I think that would be fair.
Hubie, I respect what you're saying. I don't feel like we can do that, look into it at this point.
Oh, no, not right
Okay,
now.
okay.
At some point.
Oh,
okay?
very good, good.
So we don't run into
Motion,
this again.
we have,
Absolutely, we will look into it.
we have a motion on the board. We have a motion on the table from Dusty. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Somebody's saying that the sound is okay now.
I don't feel confident enough.
Motion was made and I'll
Is it-
second.
Thank you, Nick. Motion was made by Dusty, seconded by Nick. Any other conversation, any other discussion here on the board? All those in favor of continuing this meeting, the full agenda as it is, to the next available date, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries 6-0. Folks, I'm sorry that this has occurred this evening. It's not our intent to keep moving this along, but we do appreciate your patience, and we will get this warned as quickly as we can. Thank you.
We haven't closed the meeting.
We have not closed the meeting. Nope. We'll remind folks that we're still continuing.